Vivienne's lips thinned. "What is it, Brandon?" she repeated, slower this time, her eyes narrowing as she took in Serena's shaking hands, the oversized coat, the mud splattered across her shoes. Serena's throat tightened. He set me up," she whispered. "Vivienne, he framed me for a federal embezzlement scheme. $5 million. He forged my signature. He's calling the police right now, he already did. They're coming for me." Vivienne's expression did not change, but something behind her eyes flickered. Crack. Disturbance. "Don't be absurd," she said, though the sharpness in her tone wavered slightly. "Brandon may be many things, Serena, but he's not criminal." "He is," Serena said hoarsely, pulling the thick file out from under her coat. "This is proof. I heard everything. He hired a fixer, Ezra Vance. He used my passport, forged my signature, made me the CEO of a shell company I've never even heard of." Vivienne flinched at the name Ezra. For the first time, true alarm broke through her icy composure. Serena pressed the file into her hands. Her fingers brushed the older woman's. "Please. I don't have anywhere else to go. I don't know who else to trust. You know Brandon. You know what he's capable of when he wants something." Silence pressed around them like thick velvet. Vivienne didn't move, didn't blink. She stared at the papers as if they were snakes ready to strike. Then, slowly, she lifted her head. "In the sitting room," she ordered quietly. "Now." Serena followed her down the pristine hallway, her legs trembling. The sitting room, with its tall windows and portraits of Sinclair ancestors, looked like a courtroom. Vivienne set the file on the coffee table with careful precision. "Sit." Serena sat. Vivienne opened the file. Not like a panicked mother, not like a grieving ex-mother-in-law, but like a woman who had spent 30 years hosting charity galas with governors and lunching with federal judges. Her fingers were steady. Too steady. Page after page. Signature after signature. Backdated stamps. Corporate seals. Bank transfers. The clock on the mantel ticked loudly. After what felt like centuries, Vivienne closed the file. Her next inhale was trembling. "Dear God," she whispered. Serena clasped her hands. "Vivienne." Vivienne suddenly lifted her hand. Serena fell silent. "That boy," she said faintly, in a voice Serena had never heard from her before. "I raised him better than this." Beep. Then another. Vivienne stood up, walked to the window, and drew back the curtain just enough to peer outside. Red and blue lights flashed far in the distance, reflecting off the sleek glass towers of downtown. The faint echo of sirens throbbed like a heartbeat moving closer. Vivienne turned back to her. "Serena, child, you understand they will come here next. Brandon will send them here. He knows you have no one else. He will want you caught immediately." Serena swallowed hard. "Yes." Vivienne's eyes burned, not with anger, but with a cold, determined fire. "Then we must ensure," she said, "that you are not here when they arrive." Serena blinked. "You're helping me." Vivienne inhaled deeply, shoulders shaking once before she regained her steel. "You are the mother of my grandchildren," she said. "And Brandon will not destroy this family name with federal charges, theft, and this grotesque betrayal." She pressed a hand to her temple, steadying herself. "Get up, Serena." Serena rose. Vivienne strode to an antique armoire, pulled open the bottom drawer, and removed a small leather book, black, thick, fastened with a brass clasp. She handed it to Serena. "Take this." Serena's brows furrowed. "What is it?" Vivienne's gaze hardened. "Every contact I have ever collected in 40 years. Judges, prosecutors, investigative journalists, former FBI friends, people who owe me favors, and people who owe me fear." Serena's breath caught. "Vivienne, No," Vivienne said sharply. "Listen. You cannot go to the police. Not yet. Brandon has poisoned the narrative. They will cage you before you can finish a sentence." She stepped closer and gripped Serena's shoulders. "You need to disappear," Vivienne said, her voice shaking with urgency. Just long enough for me to do what I must. What will you do? Serena whispered. Vivienne's expression sharpened to a blade. I will expose him. A knock thundered at the front door. Not a polite knock. Command. Federal agents. Open the door. Serena's blood froze. Vivienne did not flinch. She only tightened her jaw. Follow me, she said. And she grabbed Serena's hand. Vivienne pulled Serena down the hallway with a force Serena didn't know a 60-year-old woman could possess. The house vibrated with the pounding at the front door. Once, twice again. A man's voice boomed through the walls. Federal agents. This is your final warning. Vivienne didn't look back. She moved with the precision of someone who had prepared for this moment long before it arrived. She yanked open a linen closet door. Not a closet at all, Serena realized, but a narrow staircase concealed behind shelves rigged on silent hinges. Go. Now, Vivienne ordered. Serena hesitated. Vivienne. Serena. Vivienne's voice cut like steel. If they take you, everything ends. Move. Serena swallowed the rising panic and rushed down the steps. Vivienne followed, sealing the false door behind them. Darkness swallowed the narrow space until Vivienne hit a switch. A strip of amber light flickered on, revealing a tight, slanted passage lined with old file boxes, metal cabinets, and dust-coated equipment Serena didn't recognize. The staircase led into an underground room Serena had never seen before. What is this place? She whispered. My contingency, Vivienne said. Built in '99, improved over time. I hoped I'd never need it. Above them, heavy boots crashed through the house. Furniture scraped. Drawers slammed open. Serena flinched. Vivienne, they're going to find us. No, Vivienne murmured. They'll find what I want them to find. She crossed the bunker, opened a steel drawer, and pulled out a small black case. Inside were 2 burner phones, a USB drive, and a slim passport Serena didn't recognize. Vivienne pressed the passport into her hands. Serena stared at it, stunned. This isn't mine. It is now. Vivienne, where am I supposed to go? Vivienne inhaled, slow and steady, though her eyes betrayed the tremor beneath. There's a cabin in Wolf Pine Ridge. Remote. No cameras, no cell reception, no neighbors for 10 miles. You will stay there until I call. Not message. Not text. Anything else, assume it's compromised. Serena shook her head. I can't leave you here with them. You can, Vivienne insisted. And you will. A thunderous crash echoed from overhead, doors being ripped off hinges. Serena's pulse spiked. Vivienne. Vivienne grabbed her face gently, forcing Serena to meet her eyes. Brandon thinks he has already won, she said. That makes him sloppy. That makes him vulnerable. Let me use that. The bunker light flickered as footsteps grew louder, agents sweeping the floors above them. Vivienne's voice dropped to a whisper. When the truth comes out, Serena, I need you to still be alive to see it. She pressed a key fob into Serena's hand. Cold metal, small enough to hide inside a fist. There's a tunnel behind that cabinet, Vivienne said. Go. Follow the red markers. It'll bring you out 2 blocks away. Serena's throat closed. Vivienne, thank you. Vivienne gave a small, sad smile. Go. Serena turned, pulled the cabinet aside, and stepped into the narrow escape corridor. Just as she vanished into the darkness, she heard the bunker door's hidden mechanism shifting, Vivienne locking it from the inside. And then, the agents found the entrance. A muffled shout. Splintering wood. Boots thundered downward. Serena froze only for a heartbeat. Then she ran. Serena sprinted through the narrow corridor, her breath ragged, her heartbeat shaking the air around her. The tunnel sloped downward first, then curved sharply left. The red markers, small reflective strips pinned to the wall, flashed in the weak light of the emergency bulb overhead. Behind her, the world exploded. A deafening blast cracked through the bunker, metal striking concrete, agents shouting, the unmistakable thud of a battering ram hitting steel. Serena stumbled, bracing herself against the cold wall. Vivienne. She forced her legs to keep moving. The tunnel descended deeper before rising again, tight enough that she had to crouch in places. Her palms scraped rough stone as she steadied herself, ignoring the sting. Another boom echoed through the passage. A blast door? Mo. Something heavier. And then she heard it. Vivienne's voice, faint but furious. "Don't touch that. You have no..." Man shouted. Scuffle. Then silence. Serena's chest tightened with panic. Asterisk, please be alive. Please, asterisk. She reached the end of the corridor, a metal ladder leading up to a square hatch. She pushed it open slowly. It gave way with a soft grind, and the crisp night air rushed in. She emerged behind an abandoned warehouse 2 blocks from Vivienne's home, exactly as promised. The alley was empty. She climbed out fully, dropped the hatch back into place, and waited, listening, heart racing. No sirens yet. No agents swarming the streets. She dashed between shadows until she reached the narrow street that led toward the vehicle Vivienne had prepared. A single car waited at the curb, a dusty gray sedan with an unremarkable license plate. As Serena approached, the car chirped softly when she pressed the key fob. She slid into the driver's seat, gripping the wheel with trembling hands. The glove compartment held a folded note. Serena unfolded it with shaking fingers. "Drive. Do not stop in town. Do not check your phone. Head north. Vivienne asterisk asterisk." A lump formed in her throat. She stuffed the note into her pocket, started the engine, and pulled away from the curb. Just as she turned onto the main road, sirens finally erupted in the distance, dozens of them converging toward Vivienne's house. Serena forced herself not to look back. She kept driving north. Meanwhile, back in the bunker, dust floated in the air, settling slowly over shattered hinges and destroyed shelving. Flashlight beams cut through the haze as agents stormed in, weapons raised. Vivienne stood in the center of the room, hands behind her head, her expression calm, uncannily calm. One agent barked, "Vivienne Hale, you are under arrest for obstruction of justice, interference with a federal investigation," and Vivienne tilted her head, almost amused. "I hope you boys brought a bigger net," she murmured. The agent frowned. "Ma'am, you have the right to remain silent." "Good," Vivienne said. Her eyes gleamed with something sharp. "Because the next thing you'll want is a lawyer." The lead agent hesitated, confused for a fraction of a second. Then another agent shouted from across the room, "Sir, we've got something. She's been recording everything." The room froze. Every man turned toward the open metal cabinet where a blinking red light pulsed on a hidden server unit. A live uplink. Direct. To 50 separate inboxes. The agent's face drained of color. Vivienne smiled. Then the building's power flickered. And 3 blocks away, Serena drove into the night, unaware that Vivienne's plan had already set something irreversible in motion. Serena drove for hours. The city lights bled into the rearview mirror until they disappeared entirely, swallowed by the dark stretch of highway winding north. Trees thickened on both sides of the road, tall pines bending like silent sentinels over the asphalt. The farther she went, the heavier the silence became. Wolf Pine Ridge wasn't on most maps. Vivienne had chosen it for that reason. By the time Serena turned onto the narrow dirt road leading deeper into the forest, the moon was a thin silver blade slicing through the branches. The trees closed in, the road growing rougher until the sedan trembled beneath her. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the cabin appeared. Half hidden behind overgrown shrubs. No lights. No neighbors. No sound except the wind threading through pine needles. Serena parked the car, and for a long moment she just sat there, hands still gripping the wheel, breath trembling in her chest. She had never felt so alone. She forced herself out of the car and approached the door. A key waited under the 3rd wooden step, exactly where Vivienne had said it would be. Inside, the cabin smelled faintly of cedar and dust. Serena flicked the lantern on. It glowed weak warm, enough to reveal a one-room space with a cot, a wood stove, shelves lined with canned food, and a metal chest in the corner. Chest. Vivienne had mentioned nothing about it. Serena crossed the room and knelt beside it. Her fingers brushed the cold metal. A small card rested on top. Open only if you cannot reach me. V****. Serena's chest tightened. She didn't open it. Not yet. Instead, she checked the windows, then bolted the door. She wrapped herself in the thin blanket and sat on the cot, listening to the wind howl through the trees. She tried not to imagine Vivienne's house swarming with agents. Or Vivienne standing alone in that bunker, defiant, buying her time with her own freedom. She tried not to imagine what Brandon would do once he realized she was gone. But miles away, Brandon already knew. The emails went out at 11:42 p.m. 47 attachments, 12 recordings, 3 sworn statements, and 1 encrypted file that cracked open everything Brandon had buried over the last 10 years. The first to open it was an investigative journalist in D.C. He read one paragraph, just one, and immediately called his editor. The second was a federal judge who stared at his screen, sweating, realizing the extent of the corruption spiderwebbed around Brandon's empire. The third was a former FBI analyst who recognized Vivienne Hale's signature and knew, without a doubt, that the information was real. Within minutes, inboxes pinged across the coast. Within hours, phones rang in the offices of prosecutors and attorneys. And by dawn, Brandon's name was moving through secure channels like a virus. Inside his penthouse, Brandon jolted awake to the sound of furious knocking. His attorney shouting through the door. "Brandon! Open up. We have a problem." Brandon swung the door open, eyes bloodshot. "What now?" His attorney shoved a tablet into his hands. Brandon scrolled. His face drained of color. "Where did this come from?" he whispered. "She did it," the attorney hissed. "Vivienne Hale. She sent it everywhere. Judges, press, former contacts. You need to understand, this isn't exposure. This is annihilation." Brandon stared at the documents, jaw tightening with a rage so sharp it trembled through his hands. "She's protecting Serena," he muttered. His attorney swallowed. "Brandon, this is going to snowball fast. You need to lie low. You need to." Brandon shoved him back, eyes burning. "No," he said quietly. "Serena is still out there. And as long as she's alive, this isn't over." He grabbed his phone, dialed a number he swore he'd never use again. A voice answered after one ring. Cold. Professional. "Say the name," the voice said. Brandon exhaled, hatred sharpening his breath. "Serena Vale." Was. "Location." "Not yet," Brandon growled. "But I will find her." He ended the call. And somewhere deep in Wolf Pine Ridge, Serena, exhausted, trembling, finally let herself close her eyes. Just as a twig snapped outside the cabin. Barely audible. Someone was there. Watching. Listening. Waiting. And the forest held its breath. The sound was so soft Serena almost convinced herself she'd imagined it. Almost. Her eyes snapped open. Her breath caught, held, frozen in her chest. The lantern flickered as if the air itself tensed with her. That wasn't the wind. She slipped off the cot silently, bare feet landing on the wooden floor without a creak. Her pulse thudded in her throat as she edged toward the single window. She pressed her back to the wall beside it and listened. Nothing. Then, another sound. Slow, deliberate crunch. Leaves. Under a boot. Someone was moving outside. Not approaching, circling. Serena clamped a hand over her mouth to stifle the shaky breath threatening to escape. Vivienne had said no one lived within 10 miles. Whoever was out there wasn't a hiker. Wasn't lost. Wasn't harmless. She crouched and scanned the dim interior. No weapons. No signal. No escape except the front door, which would lead straight into whoever was outside. Her gaze flicked toward the metal chest. "Open only if you cannot reach me." V****. Her hand trembled as she moved toward it. She hesitated only a second, because hesitation was a luxury she no longer had. She flipped the latches. The chest opened with a heavy metallic sigh. Inside lay a compact handgun holstered, a folded map of the forest, drawn by hand, a satellite phone, a waterproof envelope marked, "Run if this is open," and at the very bottom, a small black device with a blinking green light. Serena lifted it. Her breath hitched. It was a motion sensor, and it was already active. She glanced at the tiny display. 3 dots pulsed on the screen. 1 for the cabin, and 2 more a few meters away, moving slowly around it. Her stomach dropped. There are 2 of them. A soft tap hit the window. Serena's head snapped toward the sound, her heart hammering. Just 1 tap. Then a whisper, so faint she couldn't tell if it was a voice or leaves brushing glass. She swallowed, forcing her shaking fingers to wrap around the handgun's grip. It felt heavier than she expected. Deadlier. Final. He took 1 step back. Then 2. The doorknob rattled. Serena froze, hand tightening on the gun. The rattling stopped. A low male voice murmured from the other side of the wooden boards. Calm, steady, almost polite. "Serena Vale," he said. "We're not here to hurt you." Lie. She could feel the lie in every syllable. "We just need to talk," he added, as another shadow crossed the window. Serena forced breath into her lungs. Then she did the only thing Vivienne would have wanted. She grabbed the map, envelope, the motion tracker, the satellite phone, and she moved, not toward the door, not toward the window, but toward the crawlspace hatch Vivienne had covered with a woven rug. Serena lifted it quietly, climbed down, and pulled the hatch closed above her just as the front door exploded inward. The cabin shook with the force of the blow. Dust rained down on Serena's head as she crawled through the narrow passage beneath the floorboards, cold earth pressing against her palms. Voices filled the cabin. A step. 2 men. 1 searched. 1 waited. "You think she ran?" one asked. "No," the other said. "She's here. She's smarter than Brandon thinks." Oz. "Check under the floor." Serena's heart slammed against her ribs. She pushed herself forward, faster, scraping knees and elbows as she crawled blind through the darkness, praying the tunnel led where Vivienne intended. Above her wood groaned. Heavy boots creaked across the floorboards. Sharp stomp. The board above her splintered. A beam of light pierced the darkness, landing inches from Serena's face. "There," a voice said. "I told you. She's underneath." Serena clenched her teeth, bile rising in her throat, and she crawled faster, 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 until the passage widened, until cold night air rushed in from a small opening at the back of the cabin, until she burst out into the forest, hands bloody, breath shattered. Shouts erupted behind her. Flashlights flared. Branches whipped her skin as she ran into the trees. Blind, terrified, lone. And somewhere behind her, the men followed, footsteps pounding, relentless, closing the distance, hunting her through the darkness of Wolf Pine Ridge. Serena ran until her lungs burned. Branches tore at her arms, roots twisted beneath her feet, every breath a ragged gasp pulled through the cold night. The forest was a maze of shadows and jagged moonlight, but behind her, the men's flashlights sliced through trees like hunting knives. Left side. She's moving downhill. Don't lose her. Their voices cracked through the darkness. Serena stumbled, caught herself, pushed harder. The satellite phone slammed against her hip with every stride, but she didn't dare stop to use it. Not yet. The map slapped against her thigh. The motion tracker blinked frantically in her palm. 2 dots, both closing in. The ground dropped sharply beneath her. Serena skidded down an embankment, sliding on loose gravel, tumbling until she slammed into a fallen log. Pain shot up her ribs, white-hot and breath-stealing. But she forced herself up. Move. She sprinted through the dark until the trees suddenly thinned and the forest opened into a narrow ravine. A stream cut through the rocks, its icy water reflecting fractured moonlight. Serena splashed across, boots soaking, breath tearing from her chest. Behind her the men were close now. Too close. She heard the click of a safety being switched off. A gun. Her heart lurched. She veered left, scrambling up the rocky wall of the ravine, fingers tearing against jagged stone, dirt filling her nails. Her muscles screamed. Her chest burned. A shot cracked through the air. Stone exploded inches from her hand. Serena choked back a cry and hauled herself upward, rolling into thick brush just as a flashlight beam swept the rocks she'd climbed. Damn it, she's above us. Cut her off. Serena crawled through the brush on her elbows, every breath a silent prayer. Her body wanted to collapse. Her mind wanted to shut down. But Vivienne's voice echoed inside her. Asterisk when the truth comes out, Serena. I need you to still be alive to see it. Asterisk. She reached for the satellite phone with shaking hands. Turned it on. A blinking screen. A single saved number. Vivienne's failsafe line. Serena pressed call. The phone rang once. Twice. Then a voice answered. Not Vivienne. Deep male voice. Controlled. Cold. We've been expecting you. Serena's blood froze. She ended the call instantly, but it was too late. A rustle came from the brush to her left, then one to her right. They had her position. Serena swallowed, pulse thundering as she clutched the handgun. Her hands trembled so badly the barrel shook. The men emerged from the darkness, one in front of her, one behind. Their flashlights pinned her like a trapped animal. No sudden moves, the first man said. The second lifted his radio. We have her. Secure the area. Serena backed away until her shoulders hit a tree. Her heart pounded so loudly she could barely hear anything else. The first man stepped forward, calm, almost gentle. Serena, listen. This doesn't need to get messy. You come with us, we hand you over, everyone walks away. Fighting only makes it worse. Serena's breath hitched. She could run. She could fight. She could surrender. All choices led to death. Envelope. Run if this is open. Her fingers brushed it in her pocket. She ripped it open with one desperate motion. Inside was a small metal pin with a pull ring. Flare charge. A distraction explosive. Serena didn't think. She pulled the ring. Tossed it into the brush. The men realized too late. Wait! The flare ignited with a blinding burst of white light, exploding into a violent shower of sparks that turned the night into pure searing day. The men shouted, stumbling back, blinded. Serena ran. Through blinding light. Through screaming branches. Through tearing pain. She didn't look behind her. She didn't check the tracker. She didn't breathe. She just ran. The ridge. Toward the tree line. Toward survival. She reached the crest and froze. Below her, in the valley, headlights carved through the forest. 3 black SUVs. Fast, precise, quiet. Brandon's reinforcements. They were closing in. Serena's legs trembled. Her lungs burned. Nowhere left to run. She took a step back, mind racing. A low roar split the night sky. Helicopter. Approaching fast. Searchlight sweeping across the treetops. Not military. Not federal. Private. The beam passed over the ridge, then swung back and locked onto her. Serena threw an arm over her eyes. A rope ladder unfurled from the side of the helicopter, swaying wildly in the wind. A voice boomed through a loudspeaker. Serena Vale. Grab the ladder. She blinked up, stunned, because the voice was unmistakable. Vivienne. Alive. Furious. And coming for her. Serena didn't hesitate. She sprinted forward as the men emerged behind her, shouting, firing, trying to close the distance. Serena leapt, grabbed.